During this week's video, it's been 5 years since I've drove my first car, this 85 Cutlass, and I already broke it. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we had a lot of odds stacked against us. We got my 85 Cutlass that I took out of storage the first time in 5 years. I've had this car since I was 16. We built it when I was 18. We decided to take it out today for a car show. We took it out of storage a couple days ago and I've been driving it. Well, today was the car show. It was raining. My son just had a tonsillectomy, so dealing with that. So we weren't gonna make the car show. Went to go give the nephew a ride in the car, and now my electric fan will not work on here. You know, we built this 20 some years ago. It's not surprising that the electric fan's not working. So let's dive into it and see kind of what the issue is. Here's the electric fan we have. Relay, power. So I tested this earlier when I was out driving and it used a test light. It's a little tricky because the relay is on a temp sensor. So I have to have the car up to temp before the relay will kick on the fans. So the temp sensor was high earlier because, you know, the car was overheating, or what is that, 230, just a little too high for my liking. And we had power to the fuse going to the fan. So I know there was power there from the relay, but now that the car is cooled off, it's going to be a little bit tougher to test that. Here's the fuse that I tested earlier that goes to the fan from this relay from the temp sensor. And you can tell that this wire conduit, this wire loom, is newer than what was on here before, because this wasn't on here until yesterday, because I'm like, I should cover up these wires and make it look better for the car show today, but maybe there's something going on under there. So let's take those wire looms off and see if we can get direct power to the fan to see if it's the fan issue or it's got to be the fan, because like I said, I already had power to that fuse going to the fan. But there is a connector in there too, so maybe the connector is bad. Well, I just took the wire loom off and I'm my own worst enemy, because look what I found. I took the wire loom off and yep, disconnected. So we're gonna have to put a better connector on there, because the loom disconnected the connector from the fan. Because we did put this, we have this power here that we can just grab whenever we need it to have direct power to the fan without the temp sensor. So that's kind of why we had it unloomed before, so we could always use this. But so I guess I was the cause of my own issue. Button this up and take it for a test drive. I'll give you guys a little bit more history on my 85 Cutlass. Before I button that wiring up again, I was going to show you what this jumper cable does, and we can test the fan. So like I said, we have a hot jumper cable, so we can plug this in. Well, I fixed my issue with several zip ties. Yeah, we just zipped it, and zipped it. Now we can cover it up again. And hopefully I don't cause my own overheating issues. But this is another idea I have going on here. Since I have that extra booster cable and it's hooked to a switch, I have an idea. I have this extra fan from my wife's Honda Odyssey that met a deer, and I got two new fans, well, used fans, when I put my wife's fan back together, and this is one that survived the deer crash. Well, sorta, you know, we're gonna have to fix some areas in it, but I was gonna see if this works, and we can mount it on the front of the radiator in front of the training cooler. It's gonna be going the wrong way. Not ideal, but it might work. So the thought is to mount it in here in front of the training cooler. Hard to see. So therefore we would have a secondary fan, plus, you know, might help the tranny would be blowing the wrong way. but it could be something where we just hook it up to have a backup if the main fan, goes out again, actually goes out, and I don't cause the issue. So let's see if we could get that Honda Odyssey fan to work off that jumper secondary switch that I have hooked up on the Cutty. So we'll have to cut this connector off because that's no good to us. There's a little hole here, and I believe I will have to trim this piece off to make it fit underneath the grill up against the radiator. Kind of hard to show you guys, a little tight in that area. Car is lowered. Ideally, to put it up on a lift would be ideal. She's running at 190. See if we can hear those fans running. Or fan. She's working. We fixed our own problem. Try to warm the Cutty up a little bit in the garage, and I thought, well, what the heck? Let's just go take it for a cruise, because it wasn't warming up in the garage. Plus it just looks so good. The gray sky, the gray G-body. Alright, we're gonna do some race car stuff. We tested the fan with the battery. You saw that worked. We cut a little spot out of the radiator support. Try to make this fan fit in there. This will be our secondary fan. This big gobber is in the way, so we're gonna cut this off and hot rod. Well, it's the next morning, and we built those brackets last night to mount on the top of the fan on the radiator support here. So we're gonna put these brackets up here to mount the fan. But I was gonna give you guys a little backstory on the Oldsmobile. Like I said earlier, I bought this car when I was 16. I paid 500 bucks for it. And when I was 18, my dad and I put this 403 in it. Originally had the 6-cylinder in this Cutlass Supreme. And basically I just drove it this way for years. It's the last 10 years, this car has spent a lot of its life in storage. We take it out occasionally for car shows or just to get it out of the shed. But really, the car has just worked ever since we built it 25 years ago. So there's really not much of a history with this. Basically just my dad and I built it when I was 18. I bombed around with it just one winter when I was 16, and then we started building it. And so there is some previous rust on the doors. I do have new doors for the car, but they're maroon and they are electric windows and locks. So I could convert it to the manual like this car has, but I would have to paint it, just all those other scenarios. That is why I haven't changed the doors on this Cutlass. You've already seen a sneak peek of kind of what we got going on here. We just put these cheap plastic seats in, this little teeny wheel, the tack, and we took out the main instrument cluster out of the Cutlass, and we built this one out of plexiglass. I said before, we kind of built this to be a salt flat racer, the theme with the dish wheels and the stance and the big hood. I said all that before, but that was kind of the thought with this car. It still has the factory rear end in it with the really tall gears and the one wheel peel So it's not a quick car, but it is a fast car. Again, if we were out at the Salt Flats in Bonneville, that's kind of the gear ratio you'd want to go for anyways. We do have a 9-inch for this, so hopefully me getting this car out again gets me motivated and inspired to continue to build this car. Be hopeful that we will take it out to Bonneville someday. We probably wouldn't take it out to the main race. There's a race following the big race out in Utah that it's more local, low-key, a lot less rules, which is kind of my alley, because we'd have to roll cages. We would have to roll cage it anyways, but the classes are a little bit different and a little bit more forgiving for us to run this motor and just try to hit a high speed. That's about it with the history on the 85 Cutlass. Let's finish putting that secondary fan in and end this video. We got the fan mounted, and come down here, cameraman. You gotta see how mint this looks. It fits so perfect. Look how well it fit on this side of the radiator. There's the fan, there's the side of the radiator. Mint. Cut a little tab off, mounted one screw on the bottom. That's actually a factory mount right there. Different screw because we had to get the length for the fan shroud. And then on top here, these brackets turned out mint, and it fits in here super flush. Yeah, pretty proud of it for being a Honda fan in an 85 Cutlass. I've got the wiring ready to go, and we'll plop this through here into the old manual switch that we had before we put the thermostat switch on there. So we'll wire this in and test it out. The secondary fan is all wired up and ready to roll. You hear that? Now the next thing we got to do is go for another test drive and see if the primary fans kick on and if the secondary fan kicks on. The primary fan appears to be working. We're at 190, so let's go under the hood and see if that fan's running. It's working. Now we're gonna see the secondary fan. So we hit the switch. Let's see what that does. Oh yeah, I hear it. Got both fans running. Now we can just turn that secondary fan on when it's getting a little warm, or if we're parked on a hot day, we can just kick the fan on manually and it wouldn't kick on with the temp sensor. Working out. So that's it for this video. To end this video the proper way.